High above New York City, machine guns roar as warplanes circle the Empire State Building. Kong, bleeding and exhausted, clings to the steel spire with N in his arms. Every bullet shakes the tower. Every second brings him closer to falling. Love, fear, and death collide in one of the most unforgettable moments in cinema history. The year is 1933. The United States is going through an economic recovery process after the crisis of 1929. To make a living, actress Indira and her colleagues strive to attract viewers to their performances. But in recent times, audiences have been getting smaller and smaller. Manny is the owner of the theater company and a good friend of it. Although he loves his work, the man is completely broke. He informs his employees that he will be leaving New York. Upon hearing this, Anne is disappointed and wonders how she will survive. She decides to look for a new job opportunity. Meanwhile, on the other side of New York, filmmaker Carl Denham tries to convince investors to help fund his newest film. He claims he has found a map revealing an unexplored island, a primitive world never seen by modern society. Carl plans to travel there to shoot his movie. The investors ask for time to discuss the idea. When Carl leaves the room, they decide to cancel the project. What they don't realize is that Carl is listening behind the door. Before he can be formally notified, he leaves with his assistant. Carl orders Preston to contact the entire crew. They will be leaving in just a few hours. At that moment, Carl discovers his lead actor has quit. He urgently needs a replacement. As he enters a studio, he spots Anne across the street. He instantly realizes she is the woman he's looking for. Carl chases Anne down the street and invites her to lunch. While she eats, he explains the story of the film and offers her the lead role. At first, Anne refuses, but when she learns Jack Driscoll is involved, she changes her mind. Later, they arrive at the pier. Preston warns Carl that the police are coming to stop them. The group rushes aboard. By the time the police arrive, the ship is already far from shore. There aren't enough accommodations. Jack is forced to stay in the cargo hold, where animal cages are kept. Bruce Baxter is also on board. He will act opposite him. Inside his cage, Jack continues writing his script. He is surprised by the arrival of Jimmy, who brings him dinner. Jimmy was found hiding on the ship for years earlier and became part of the crew the next morning and meets her co-workers and finally meets Jack in person. One night, Hayes warns Carl about Skull Island. He claims none of them will return alive. Carl ignores the warning. Nothing matters more to him than his movie. Lost at sea, Captain Aylhern leads the ship into thick fog. They crash into a massive rock, surrounded by reefs. The ship runs aground. While everyone panics, Carl is thrilled. They've found Skull Island. The ship is badly damaged. While repairs begin, Carl takes a crew ashore. They find human skulls everywhere. After hours of walking, they discover ruins. Then they realize people live there. Carl approaches a young girl and offers chocolate. She bites him and runs. An old woman appears, terrifying Carl. Suddenly, natives surround them. Mike is killed by a spear. The tribe attacks. Jack fights to protect him. The captain arrives with guns and drives the natives away. The survivors return to the ship. The natives plan revenge. They invade the ship to take a sacrifice. Jack finds a skull object and realizes the ship was breached. Anne is gone. The crew prepares to rescue her. By now, Anne is going through the last phase of the ritual in which Kong appears to pick her up. However, upon seeing the woman, the giant ape acts differently than expected and decides to take the young woman away instead of devouring her. As soon as he hears and screams Jack and his team rush to her aid. However, Carl is the first to arrive and is shocked to see this gigantic creature. When he tells his colleagues what he has seen, they all prepare for a hunt, and the filmmaker takes his camera to record the whole adventure. Meanwhile, Anne tries to save herself and pierces the monkey's hand with a bone prop that was placed on her neck, but ends up being captured again and taken away. Upon reaching a certain point on the trail, Jack finds a giant footprint on the ground and soon realizes that the actress has been captured by a giant monster. Meanwhile, Carl is exploring the place in search of interesting images for his film and finds a herd of dinosaurs. The filmmaker asks Bruce, the protagonist, to approach the animals. However, the man runs away and decides not to risk himself in the midst of those beasts. It doesn't take long before Carl goes after them as he is being chased by the Brachiosaurus. Even at the risk of being crushed, the man refuses to leave his camera behind and must run with his equipment in hand while trying to escape. part of the team is trampled by the creatures and Bruce hides behind a rock in hopes of saving himself. However, the actor is eventually found by another animal that starts chasing him, and he must join his colleagues to escape. When they reach the edge of a cliff, the rocks begin to crumble and some creatures end up falling into the abyss carrying